Hey yo, what is going on, viewers of the tube? If you don't know by now, I'm your host Tyler, and welcome to the crypto channel that is as out of left field as that one time Steve-O, Chris Pontius, and Dave England went to go visit that crazy Agori tribe for the second time.
It was just a complete disaster.
And then the next thing they know, it was, which I think is kind of weak, one of the Agoris just pees in a cup. Yeah. Then he starts drinking it, and we're like, dude, drinking piss. We've got to put it in a snow cone, then maybe we'll talk.
You know our Wildboyz, it's time for Chico Crypto. Well, howdy doody, boys and girls. It feels like crypto again, finally. The crypto markets took off yesterday, and pulling out Bitcoin's price chart since the low in mid-December, it's a good-looking chart. There's no denying it. Thanks, Nate Dogg. But yes, since the 6.7K low on December 18th, Bitcoin has been creeping up and showing bullish momentum, hitting higher highs and lower lows with each leg up. We peaked at 7.5K on Christmas Eve, then BTC deflated down to a higher low of 6.9K. Then we had the first January 2020 pump, pushing the price up to a higher high, but 8.3K resistance rejected it. Although another higher low of 7.7K was hit as support. And the rest is history. We have smashed through 8.3K resistance and as of yesterday, hit 8.7K. But that is just Bitcoin. There was a Bitcoin fork yesterday that was pumping like a son of a gun, and it reminds me of the 2017 madness when we aren't in the parabolic stage. Well, it's not Bitcoin Cash, but Bitcoin SV. And pulling out its all-time chart, BSV has surpassed its all-time high after its parabolic movements recently. A straight line up, which is even clearer if we zoom in since its recent low in mid-December. Most of BSV's price action has come in the past 5 days, resulting in a 4x since mid-December. Although pulling back out that all-time chart, we can see this happened already once before. A parabolic pump and then dump right back down. In May and June of last year, BSV went from its low of $60 to over $240. Another 4x. Sounds similar to what's happening right now? Well, why did that pump happen? Because Craig Wright, he filed a copyright for the Bitcoin white paper, one of his failed attempts to prove he is Satoshi. So that is what is going on right now. Once again, Craig is attempting to prove he is Satoshi, and this time in a US district court. So what in the hell is going on for those who don't know? Well, as we know, Bitcoin's origins and creator are shrouded in mystery, but there are two people who have edged on its mythology for years, Craig Wright and the late Dave Kleiman. We all know Craig, but who was Dave? Dave was a computer data scientist and forensics expert. He worked for the Army Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, where he earned the rank of detective, and he also worked as a systems security analyst in the Computer Crimes Division and helped configure the Computer Forensics Lab. After that, Klieman went on to work for a number of high-tech companies before becoming a partner in a computer forensics business. But in 2013, he died in his home, seemingly of natural causes related to complications from a MRSA infection. In late 2015, the rumors of Craig and Dave's claim to the creation of Bitcoin started to swirl. In December of 2015, Gizmodo drops this article, The Strange Life and Death of Dave Kleiman, a computer genius linked to Bitcoin's origins. And in the article, they describe Craig and Dave's involvement with document proof of a trust. From the article, the documents provided to Gizmodo include what appears to be an unfinished draft of a trust contract showing Wright entrusting Kleiman with 1.1 million Bitcoins in 2011. Its sum worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but according to the contract, the money was to be returned to Wright down the road. And this is the Tulip Trust I'm sure some of you have been hearing about. Well, I have the document, and it's dated July 9th, 2011. Dave Kleiman received 1,100,111 BTC, with the value of the coins being $100,000 at the time. Already there is an inconsistency. Bitcoin's price on that day in 2011 was actually about $29. That means the Tulip Trust was actually worth nearly $32 million then. Inconsistencies then and inconsistencies now. As we fast forward to today, Ira Kleiman, Dave's brother, is now suing Craig Wright to what he says is his rightful claim to the Tulip Trust, as he is the beneficiary of the Kleiman estate. They are suing Craig for up to 1,100,111 bitcoins worth over 10 billion USD today, and the intellectual property related to the Bitcoin software. Ira alleges that Wright and Klieman mined bitcoins together in the currency's early days, and that since Kleiman's death, Wright has perpetrated a scheme to seize Dave's Bitcoin. Now, this was filed all the way back in February 2018, and since then, the court case has been a complete and utter shat show. The lawsuit doesn't even know how many bitcoins are in the trust or are at stake. From the Vice article about the suit, the lawsuit admits the amount of bitcoins at issue must be determined at trial. Basically, Klieman isn't sure about how much is really at stake, but Kleiman's lawyers have Wright's own statements to go from. So Ira isn't even sure about anything, it sounds like. My question is this: why did it take Ira so long to go after the rightful claim to their stash? I mean, by the time of the creation of the supposed trust, it was worth over 32 million. And from that article, notably, the lawsuit makes no claim on whether Kleiman or Wright or both of them or neither of them actually created Bitcoin. It does, however, allege that the pair were in communication in March 2008. The Bitcoin white paper was published in October 2008. And that Dave told his brother, Ira, in 2009 that he was creating digital money with a wealthy foreign man, i.e. Craig. So Ira knew that Dave got involved with Bitcoin early on. 2009, Dave told him about it. The trust worth 31 million on its creation date, but by the date of Dave's death in April of 2013, Bitcoin was $135, meaning the trust was now worth over 148 million. You would think Ira might be looking for it then. Well, by the end of the year, when Bitcoin hit $1,200, the trust ballooned to $1.32 billion. Ira, it literally took you until February of 2018, after the trust had ballooned to over $22 billion, to think about going after the claim? I don't believe it for a second. Any sane person, if they thought they had a claim to even $1 million, goes after it. And the judge overseeing the case, Judge Bruce Reinhart of the Southern District Court of Florida, hasn't been impressed with Craig throughout the case. From official court documentation, during his testimony, Dr. Wright's demeanor did not impress me as someone who was telling the truth. When it was favorable to him, Dr. Wright appeared to have an excellent memory and a scrupulous attention to detail. Otherwise, Dr. Wright was belligerent and evasive. He did not directly and clearly respond to questions. He quibbled about irrelevant technicalities. When confronted with evidence indicating that certain documents had been fabricated or altered, he became extremely defensive, tried to sidestep questioning, and ultimately made vague comments about his systems being hacked and others having access to his computers. None of these excuses were corroborated by other evidence. Yes, the forgeries. It's going to be hard to win in this case when you have been caught multiple times in court producing fakes. Yes, in court he has been caught, and before court he has been caught. I have a video showing a bunch of his forgery attempts and concluding that, in my opinion, he is not Satoshi. It's included in the description if you want to check it out. But that doesn't stop Craig. Just last month he produced what has been confirmed to be another fake, which was supposed to show where he came up with the name Satoshi. The document shows a JS-Tor academic journal database editorial about Tominaga Nakamoto from the Monumenta Nipponica. The timestamp on the document suggests that the recorded date was well before the white paper published on Halloween 2008. Well, it took no less than a few hours for this to be busted as tampered with. The 08 looks much smaller than the 20, and they are not aligned. It's obvious, it's fake. Well, Craig the Faker is not disputed. He has done this many times and will continue to forge things. But back to the Tulip Trust. If we see the original document, all Bitcoins from the trust are to be returned to Craig on January 1st, 2020. Well, the Florida court gave Craig the time to receive the coins, as Craig said he would be receiving keys to the trust in the form of a bonded courier. Craig insists that the funds were encrypted and split into keys using a unique form of Shamir's secret sharing algorithm, and he cannot decrypt his own file for the trust until he received the bonded courier. Well, he was supposed to receive it on January 1st. Well, January 1st came and went and no bonded courier, no keys, no nothing. So Craig, he changes the story once again and says it's not January 1st the bonded courier will arrive with the keys, but just sometime in January. So the judge kindly gave Craig until February 3rd to prove the Tulip Trust existence, or GTFO. Get the fuck out. From the most recent court ruling, in light of the defendant's representations that the bonded courier is scheduled to arrive in January 2020, the court will permit the defendant through and including February 3rd, 2020, to file a notice with the court indicating whether or not this mysterious figure has appeared from the shadows, and whether the defendant now has access to the last key slice needed to unlock the encrypted file. In the event this occurs, and further, if the defendants produce his list of Bitcoin's holdings as ordered by the magistrate judge, then the court will not impose any additional sanctions. So it's going to be a wild month for Bitcoin SV, and we will have leaks from Craig and his team during the entire month to keep the rally going. But just like January 1st came and went with no courier, February 3rd will produce the same nothingness because Craig is not Satoshi and there is no such thing as a Tulip Trust. I mean, in a November 2018 interview with Craig from Modern Consensus, they asked, so people aren't going to one day find a zip drive in the Seychelles with 1.1 million Bitcoins? And Craig answered, no. Craig, he reminds me of Harold Camping, American Christian radio broadcaster, author, and evangelist, who kept predicting the end of the world and the rapture. He amassed a large amount of gullible followers to support his end of the world predictions. Yes, predictions, because they never came true. First predicted it on May 21st, 2011.
Just before 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
Well, remember that day came and nothing, besides Macho Man Randy Savage passing. Maybe he was the only one pure enough to be taken to heaven. Well, Harold just kept delaying the end of the world. October 21st was the next one.
October 21.
And that came and passed. And then Harold got labeled as a false prophet by most of his newly gained followers. They all eventually ended up hating him. And this wasn't the first time Harold made failed predictions. He did the same thing in 1994, but it didn't gain support like the 2011 one. Sound similar to someone? Well, Craig, he has tried to claim he is Satoshi before, providing evidence, yet getting proved wrong each and every time. Now, this time, he has a group of gullible supporters who believe every word he says. Yet, even though he doesn't fulfill his original promise, courier delivered by January 1st, and now delays, they still believe him. But the second date, February 3rd, if he doesn't prove he is Satoshi, the followers he has gained, they will all turn on him, and BSV, it will crumble to its knees. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.
There's this whole section, I remember some white paper back in 2008, had this section on how identity worked in Bitcoin. I remember reading it, probably when I wrote it. Sounds impossible, doesn't it?